Okay, so Netflix has dropped has dropped a French film, uh, and made no mention of it whatsoever. They do this all the time. They dropped a brand new season of Ghosts in the Shell without a peep. I have no idea what their business plan is. Anyways, this was a nice little hit, so to speak, in France, and so they dropped it in, made some changes to the name, and slapped the old horror title on it. So, let's see why they did that. Alright, so it's going to be a spoiler-filled review. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. It's on Netflix. Pretty simple. Basically, in a nutshell, a family goes on vacation for 2 months. France. And sublet their house to their kid's caretaker. Never really explain what's wrong with the kid. Who cares? They come back, and the people decide, hey, the house is ours. You can't have it. And that pisses off the old father of the family. And then is a series of events that piss him off more and more and more. And hilarity ensues. Alright, so we start off with likes. And one thing I did like was they did a very, very good job of both writing and acting, showing the progression of his anger. It got, worse and worse and worse. And they definitely were building, with that. I like that I learned something. I learned that there's white trash in France. Honestly, call me culturally ignorant. I had no idea. They don't, it was basically, poor white trash minus the country music. And, yeah, oof. And then the reason that this got the horror slapped on it was at the end of the film, at the very end, and only at the end of the film, when basically in a nutshell, the poor white trash have invaded the home in an effort to take it from the father and family that they, quote, befriended, unquote, and oust the freeloaders that are in there. It's a horror scene. It's a very nicely done horror scene, particularly like the whole vacuum bag thing. That's horrifying. Plenty of blood, plenty of guts, plenty of violence. So, yes, for 5 minutes, it's horror, but not the entire rest of the movie. Alright, it's dislikes time, and I did dislike that they threw the horror moniker on this. That's not the film's fault. I get that. But as a warning to everybody here, it's not a horror movie. One, horror sequence, that's it. Number 2, again, not the movie's fault per se, but I gotta say, Netflix, you really showed your stupidity on this one. Not calling it horror, calling it Get In. Okay? So, because the insanely racist Get Out made a buttload of money, they decide to name this thing Get In because there happens to be a racist undertone, I suppose. Okay? With Get Out, it was blatant racism against white people. With Get In, it was that the black, pussy, basically, father, had some racist incidents. But that's where the similarities end. And yet we're going to call it Get In the hopes to cashing in. Pathetic Netflix. Then, as pertains to the actual movie, they built up very well that this pussy father figure was getting angrier and angrier. But he's fundamentally a pussy, so he doesn't does anything, right? Okay, so when the time comes, you figure he's going to break. He's going to snap. He's going to finally grow a pair of nuts, man up, and do the right thing. But he doesn't. Instead, what happens is they fall back on a flight or fight syndrome. So he builds and builds and builds. He's screwed by the court. He's screwed by his friends. He's screwed by his wife. Blah, 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 blah. You know, the only people that are his friends are these white trash redneck hillbillies. They turn on him. None of that causes him to grow a pair. But it's only when the hillbillies have turned on him, they're burning down the house, they're destroying everything, they're beating him and his wife with baseball bats that they somehow survive, which is of course bullshit, that he finally decides, okay, it's either fight them or run away, and he fights. But it isn't because he ever manned up. There is no character growth. There isn't. He's fundamentally a pussy. So even a scene where he says that, trying to figure out why the girl's with him. Can't figure it out to save my life. But there it is. It's just, you know, you did a good job building that anger up, and then just go, oh, yeah, but that's not enough to make him grow a pair. It has to be their fight or flight. It's very, very unsettling. Yeah. And, you know, it was a long way to go to get to that unsatisfying conclusion. Alright, it is Pinhead time, and I gotta tell you, again, it's not a horror movie. The racist stuff is stupid, and they really screwed up the character arc, so, you know, if you want to catch 5 minutes of some good horror, then I'll go ahead and throw this up. Oh man, Pinhead again. AOL. 1 Pinhead out of 5. Alright, so what did you guys think? I suspect not a lot of, oh Jesus, it's one of those days. Not a lot of people saw this because, again, Netflix does such a horrible job promoting it. But if you did, or if you checked it out based on kind of what you saw here, let me know what you thought in the comment section below.